first question on everyone's mind, on my mind, is has Trey Lance showed the 49ers enough to move on from Jimmy? This was sort of like the dry rehearsal. He had all the reps to himself. He didn't get to play with Kittle or Debo, but he got to play with the starters. You saw most of it. What do you think the Niners are thinking, and what are you thinking?
I'm thinking they got the right guy. Now, it's the process of being a leader when you're a 20-year, what's he, 21, 22?
Just turned 22.
Yes. I mean, he's a very, very young guy. And Trent Williams talked about it. You were there for that. I mean, you can't just force that kind of thing. And I think that's kind of what the Trey Steve Young thing, I think, is about. It's about how to best take over the leadership of the team in a way that's comfortable for his personality, natural and authentic and real, as opposed to contrived, fake, forced. You know what I mean? I think that's what Steve's going to help him with.
Can I say something real quick? The best way for Trey Lance to take over the team as a leader, for the Niners to get rid of Jimmy. That's the best way.
That would help. That would help.
Trey's credit, I mean, he's acting like that's going to happen. Everyone's acting like that's going to happen. No one has talked to Jimmy, but I feel like if Trey had done something that alarmed the 49ers, they would cling to Jimmy as the safety blanket that they have treated him like. But I feel like from what I saw, I mean, I tallied up the numbers that there were practices that weren't in front of the media, but from what I saw, he completed like 75% of his throws. He had a 3-to-1 TD to INT ratio. I mean, you saw those deep throws today.
Those was great.
That Jimmy throws. I think he's better right now than Jimmy is.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt. To me, I think Trey is a very good NFL quarterback. The question is, can he get to elite? But very good is better than Jimmy. And to me, the last 2 days have been very impressive. Yesterday, Grant, we saw him operate in the red zone with precision. And those windows are tight, and he made some really good throws. Today, we saw him challenge down the field, and he threw a couple flat dimes. Yes. Absolutely perfect. And he was on time with most of his stuff underneath. So I really liked what I saw today and yesterday.
I like the deep throws because neither one was off play action. Both were just him seeing a matchup, I don't know if it was the first receiver, just not hesitating. Dropping back, seeing the opening, and cutting it loose, and both times they were accurate. The first one wobbled, but oh well.
There's a little wobble to some of the balls he throws, and I think we're going to continue to see that. But he's being himself. He's not rah-rah. He's a different energy on the field than Jimmy. Jimmy is a little bit more rah-rah. Jimmy's a little bit more like, hey, let's go, guys. And he's a little bit you feel the energy of Jimmy Garoppolo, and that's, they'll miss some of that. But they're not going to miss the late in the down turnover, the throw in the middle of the field, the not accounting for players in the middle of the field. I think Trey's not going to make the repetitive mistakes that we saw with Jimmy.
Also, Jimmy is a rah-rah guy, but to me, he doesn't really exude confidence on the field. I mean, again, when he holds the ball for more than 2.5 seconds, he kind of panics. He doesn't do good things. To me, Trey just exudes much more confidence. Like yesterday, he was 14 of 18. And I was like, yeah, he was good, but he didn't hit his one deep throw to Ray. Comes back today and nails him. It's almost like, what do you think? What else I got to do? I love that. To me, I think he's going to be really good. I don't know if he's going to be great. But what do you think? How do you think they should use him the first year to optimize him? He's essentially a rookie.
I think this year has as much to do about Kyle and the coaching staff and how he's brought along as it is with him. Run the ball. You have a ton of runners. You have a ton of weapons. Yeah. Get the ball out of his hands in rhythm quickly as runners, shovel passes, shallow crossers in the flat, high percentage throws. Manufacture his high completion percentage. He's going to throw some balls that are off, though he did look really good in this camp, I thought. But get him on a pitch count. I don't want to see Jimmy. I don't want to see Trey throwing it 35, 40 times. Pass, down the field. You play ball control, run the ball, get him on a pitch count, utilize your weapons. You got a really good football team, and don't ask him to do too much. I think that's going to be a huge part of this year for them.
And it's like they have experience not asking their quarterback to do too much. They've been doing that the last 5 years. Yeah.
More of the same. With a little bit more dynamic. I'll tell you what was really impressed, and I was talking to Jack Hammer as we're walking off the field today, is I discounted the Ray McLeod move as kind of Ray McCloud.
Yeah.
But you know what? Ray McCloud looked great in this camp. And this guy's dynamic. And you can throw it to him underneath. He's got huge radius.
Yeah.
He accelerates through the catch point. Man, there's a lot to like. Ray McCloud may give this. We talk about Danny Gray and the dynamic nature of him, Grant, but it might be Danny Gray and Ray McCloud who give this receiving core that much more, a dynamic feel.
All I know is that Ray McCloud's a hard name to say. Ray McCloud hit the ground running and tore it up in minicamp and OTAs. Danny Gray had a great rookie minicamp, pulled his hamstring, been MIA. So one guy's a pro, ready to take a job. The other guy's learning what it takes. I'm betting on Ray for this year. I want to say one thing before we move on. Trey Lance really reminds me of Steve Young. Steve Young's my favorite athlete. Yes. Steve Young's my favorite athlete of all time. I grew up idolizing Steve Young. Like, I wished he was my dad. That's how much I liked him. I always wore number 8 when I played. I love Steve Young. My dad let me interview Steve Young when I was 7. I mean, I got to meet him at 49. I got to ask him, he signed my.
What'd you ask him? Did you second
my
guess him?
My question was, funny enough, because I was trying to throw a football. I was about 6 or 7, and I was starting to learn that it's hard to throw a football. It's hard to throw a spiral. And I was asking him, how do you throw can you throw a spiral, Steve? And how do you do it? And he was so nice. He was like, my hands aren't as big as Joe Montana's hands. So actually, he throws a much better spiral than I ever do. It's hard for me. And there are some times when I'll throw an interception, but the spiral is perfect, and I'll walk off the field feeling like, it was a pretty good spiral, though. He really said that to me, and I almost want to ask Trey Lance if he's ever felt that way, because to me, he is Steve Young 2.0, just from the personality, the leadership type, and the skill set, what he's trying to become.
And Steve Young, I don't think was a born player. I think he was a made player, and I think Trey is much of the same. It's going to take time. I just think that Steve, from talking to him on the radio the last couple of years, the nuance, he understands all the nuances of the game, play calling, the relationships between you as the quarterback and the play caller, your relationship with your number 2 quarterback, your number 3 quarterback, how to handle controversies on the field, in the locker room, in the media. I just think if Jerry and Steve want to coach up Trey as he develops as a football player on life in the NFL, they couldn't pick better guys.
Well, the funny thing about it is Steve wants to do it. Steve is doing it. Steve is invested, and he doesn't have to be. He just, I guess.
He cares.
He cares. He sees himself in Trey. He cares about the 49ers. Joe has already said the Niners should have taken Mac Jones. He's already said people don't believe. Joe is still bitter that they traded him to Kansas City is my theory. And I don't think he'll ever be there for Trey Lance the way Steve is. I love how Steve finds time in his day to call up Trey, who's 22 and has nothing to do with his life, and be like, hey, man, how's it going? We're going to make this happen. I love that. That's great.
He's invested. Steve's still emotionally invested in the 49ers week to week. I think Joe's invested in the Niners, but in a totally different way. I'm not week to week and not with this regime or this, he's invested in the Niners and his thoughts and memories and relationships. But Steve's like, we got to get this 6th ring. And there's very few guys that are that fired up about it. They're more about, hey, it's their time and their thing. Steve wants to help.
Trey Lance was born after Steve Young retired.
How about that?
That's crazy.
Never saw him.
He never saw him play. Never saw Steve Young play. That's crazy. It's like if Y.A. Tittle wanted to coach me or something. It's I guess he was good. I don't know. Anyway. Ron Holder says, Larry, how can you say he's a very good NFL quarterback when he's only played 2 games and seen him in practice, in the words of great Allen Iverson, talk about practice? Well, Larry's a scout. Scouting experience.
I'm just giving you my opinion. Yeah, you're right, though. That person is right. Yeah, I'm telling you what I'm seeing right now, but you're right. It still has to happen on the field before you can actually deem it official. I hear you.